Hello?
Good morning, Gus. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Rusty?
I'm doing fantastic. It's good to get a chance to talk with you.
Absolutely.
First off, congratulations on the new Firewind album, Immortals. It's a fantastic record, and you've made the long wait for this album to come out. Well worth it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
You guys opted to do your first concept record, something that's obviously close to your heart and certainly close to your heritage. What made you decide to choose this topic and do it at this point in your career?
Well, it's been an idea that we've been discussing for a long time, to be honest, doing something that basically kind of like a tribute to our heritage and where we come from. A lot of people, a lot of fans even have been telling us, you guys are Greek, you should do something about like Greek history and stuff. So it's always been like in the back of our heads, but you know, in order to do a project like that, we've never done like a concept record, and you need to have the right kind of music, you need to be in the right mindset, and the timing needs to be right. And we didn't really know how to do a concept album. So, I mean, now basically taking our time to write this and collecting ideas for a few years and working with a co-producer who helped co-write this, I think it was just the right time to put such a project into motion.
And you just alluded to the man that you worked with, Dennis Ward of Unisonic and Pink Cream 69 fame. Now, you guys, if memory serves, you two almost put together a similar project back in, I don't know, around 2009 or so, right before you got the Ozzy gig.
Well, yeah, correct. That was the idea, because we had some of those songs kind of like laying around, not finished, of course, just like rough ideas that I wrote. And I reached out to Dennis and said, man, maybe we should finish up those ideas, because they still sound really good and they sound like they could be on a Firewind record. And maybe now is the time to do this, and then talk about ancient Greek history or something like that. And so kind of like all the pieces of the puzzle kind of like fell together now, and it made sense.
Now, you had more time to write this record. How did you approach the songwriting differently, knowing you had a very specific story to tell?
Well, first of all, the whole idea was to not really hold back this time. I mean, we didn't write a record that we wanted to have we didn't really necessarily go for, what's the hit single, what's the follow-up single. We didn't think in terms of that. We just said, let's just make a kick-ass power metal record. Let's make it really epic. Let's make it grand. Let's have great arrangement, big sounds, more solos than ever before, more wailing on the vocals than ever before. Let's just do everything more. That was the whole idea, basically.
Bigger and better, right?
Exactly, yeah. So we definitely didn't cut back on the cheese, for sure. So it's funny because I read sometimes comments online. People are like, "Wow, that's so cheesy." I'm like, "Well, that's in case you didn't get it. That's what it's supposed to be, cheesy." Yeah.
It's epic metal. It's power metal. It's supposed to have a little cheese on it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like we're gonna try and be all of a sudden a classic rock band, or we're going to try and have the biggest message out there about saving the world or whatever. We're not going to try and be those guys now. It's like Firewind has been a power metal band. It's always been that. And maybe the biggest mistake of our career was trying to deny that a few years ago. So I would say we embrace it now.
Now, you've been busy writing, recording, and touring for back-to-back solo records. How did the process of writing this record with Dennis work, and how long have you been putting it together?
I think I put together all the pieces last year in between my solo tours. Basically, that's what happened. Lots of the ideas already existed, because, like I said, I've been writing since 2009 on and off. So I had like this Firewind folder in my hard drive where all the power metal ideas would just end up there. A lot of ideas from 2013 all the way up to last year. And then I wrote a couple of more newer ones. So a lot of the music was already there. It was like the foundation was there. Like I kept all my best ideas that sounded like that. And basically I just started sending demos over to Dennis, and then he would just send me back the demos with his vocals and vocal melodies and ideas like that. Kind of went back and forth a lot last year, and that was the whole pre-production process. Yeah.
Dennis is a great vocalist. Most people don't realize that.
He's a great vocalist, actually, yes. And he does a lot of the backing vocals on this record, too. So.
And he co-produced the album as well, didn't he?
He co-produced it with me. He engineered the drums, he mixed it and mastered it. So it was basically like me and him just doing the whole record, just co-writing it and then recording it, and he mixed it in the end. So I think that's why I gave him the title of co-producer, because I think he definitely deserves that. He co-produced the whole thing with me.
Speaking of vocals, you had a new member in the band, a new vocalist for this record, Henning Bassi, who makes his recording debut for Firewind, but you've had him on your solo tour before. What does he bring to the Firewind sound in your mind?
I think Henning is one of the best power metal vocalists of our generation. So we were all surprised that all these years, because he toured with us 10 years ago, we were all surprised that he still hadn't been, picked up by some other band. When I hired him to do my solo tours, he was still looking for a band, and he's like, dude, I really want to join a band. That's where my heart is. I want to be a part of a band. That's what I want. And I'm like, well, we're still looking for a singer. So he brought that new energy that we really needed.
Yeah, his voice really lends itself well to what you did on Immortals, and I imagine it lends itself very well to the back catalog for Firewind as well.
Oh, yeah. He could always sing that without a problem. That's for sure. And he's a great guy. He's a great guy to tour with. He's very pleasant out on the road. So, yeah, and he has... I don't know. I think his voice really fits with what we're doing today.
And with most concept albums, every song has to be in a very specific order to tell the story, but that sometimes makes continuity and flow of the album difficult. Did you do all these songs in the order of telling the story, or are they more for continuity, the order that they're in?
No, it's not a continuous story. Some parts are, some parts aren't. The way you should look at this is more like every song is like a snapshot from the story. And that's in no particular order. I mean, at the end, I decided that we should have the track list with a better musical flow rather than the lyrical flow, because we don't have all these interludes and parts like that, kind of like, not like, for example, like Pink Floyd would do on The Wall or Queensrÿche would do on Operation Mindcrime, if you know what I'm talking about. Right. It was just like, it's just 10 songs and that's what it is.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering, because, the songs have such a great flow to them, the way they run on the album, and the songs themselves don't sound like they have to be in any specific order to really give you the feel of the theme of the album.
Exactly, yeah. No, I'm glad you asked that. So... And still, it's not like such a confusing story. I mean, anybody who just types about the Battle of Thermopylae or Salamis online, they can find out everything. And hopefully some fans might be inspired and look it up, or go back and watch the movie 300. So that's pretty cool.
And who knows? Maybe there will be some more of these concept records for Firewind.
See, that's the thing now. We're getting to a point where we're thinking, well, if this is accepted well, maybe it opens up a new path for us where we could just do a series of concept records. And because the Greek history is so big, so huge in different chapters and centuries, and that's just history without even touching up on mythology. So, yeah, it could go on forever, really.
And one of the songs that's listed on the album is listed as a bonus track, Vision of Tomorrow, and it's one of my favorite songs on the record. Tell us a little bit about that one. That
song was written in 2013. That was the first song that I intended to write for this new album. At that point, I remember we were working with Kelly Sundown, who was our touring singer. And after the tour in Australia, we came back and we were all excited. And I wanted to start the album. I sent him demos, and that was the first song. And then he decided that he didn't want to do this. He didn't want to be the replacement guy of somebody else. And he just basically quit. So that was kind of like the get-go song, and I was very excited about it. And then at the time, he quit as well. And I was like, well, you know what? I've had enough of this. So I just put the band to rest for a while. So it's a song that brings back those kind of memories. Like, I remember the excitement and then like how bummed out I was at the same time. But still, it was a really good idea. And I probably made a mistake using it as a bonus track because that's a favorite track for a lot of people, actually, they've been telling me. And that's also maybe a mistake that we made. We didn't think about bonus material. I was so focused on making such a killer record that, there was like no space for fillers in my mind. And I didn't even think of maybe recording some extra live tracks or stuff like that, getting content. And then the record label says, well, we're going to need some bonus material. I'm like, fuck, I don't have any. I have 11 songs for you guys. That's all I got. I recorded 15 minutes of music or something. So we had to leave out one track. And for some reason, Vision of Tomorrow, that was the track that got left out. It doesn't mean it's not a good track. I like the track a lot.
And that's really such a great song, and that's why it sort of threw me that it was a bonus track on the album, because it sort of fits the continuity of the rest of the theme, the album.
Well, it's actually, if I would have included it on the record, and now you can, obviously people can pick it up on the limited edition, on the Digipack, or if you buy the physical copy. In the States, there's only one physical copy, and that song is included. But if you pick it up, that would be the last song on the track list, because within the concept, Vision of Tomorrow it's talking about, because basically those wars were the first time that all the separate Greek kingdoms united, and that became like a unified Greece. So that was like the vision of tomorrow, if you know what I'm talking about. That was like the vision of a united country, because I don't know if you know, but back then Greece were separate kingdoms, kind of like you have separate states in America, you know. But back then it was almost like different countries, if you can imagine that. But because of the Persian invasion, everybody came together in order to fight them, because their army was massive and we were just a small country. So anyways, that's where that song belongs within the story.
All right, so just for fun, I know a lot of bands, when they're in the studio, they haven't got the title for the songs yet, so they sort of use working titles. They're sometimes fun or quippy. Did you guys do that on this album?
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time, because, I mean, when I write ideas, I don't have the lyrics. Sometimes I might have, like, for example, the instrumental Immortals, that was the working title, and maybe that's where I thought it would be a good album title. But other songs, you know, it might be all kinds of, you know, other titles, weird titles. Maybe sometimes, 145 BPM, because just to remind me what the tempo of the song is. I don't know, maybe Vision of Tomorrow was like power metal idea or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah, I have to go back into my computer and see what those early demos were called. I can't remember. It's been so long now.
All right, Gus, last question. It is the 15th anniversary of Firewind's debut album, Between Heaven and Hell. Can you take us back and tell us your memories of making that first record?
Oh, wow. Yeah, man. It is. I didn't think about it. 15 years ago. Well, you know, the man who offered me my first record contract was David T. Chastain from the cult underground band Chastain. And, you know, he's a legendary 80s guitar hero. So back then I used to send my demos with there were two guitar labels. One of them was Shrapnel Records, Mike Varney, and the other one was Leviathan Records, owned by David Chastain. And I remember I sent my demos to both of them, and Mike Varney never got back to me, but David Chastain did. And he would write me these letters and encourage me to work on my sound and style. So I kept flooding the guy with demos for years and years and years. And then, you know, we started emailing each other. And then in the end, you know, he decided to help me out and put the band together, put a band around me. And, you know, we named it Firewind. I told him I had that idea for the name from, obviously, the Uli John Roth album from Electric Sun, Firewind. And he hooked me up with some great guys, Stephen Frederick from Atlanta and Brian Harris, the drummer who played on Between Heaven and Hell. And it's crazy because we did this with zero budget, man. It was like I recorded the guitars in my room with a little Fender combo amp. And I remember I cranked it up loud, and the whole neighborhood would just listen to my guitars playing loud for 2 weeks. And apparently I did something really messed up. I didn't know how to engineer or anything. So I think I recorded guitars out of phase somehow. But that created a special tone. If you listen to that album, it has a pretty distinct guitar tone, which was basically a engineering mistake. But somehow it gives that special character to that album. Yeah, I have a lot of good memories from that time. Of course, I remember like getting our first license deal in Japan with EMI, being on a major label. And I remember getting the first good news that we sold a lot of records in Japan, and there was interest to bring us there for a live show. So, yeah, a lot of good memories.
Yeah, and you're getting ready to head back over to Japan. Going to do a couple of dates with Liz Reed of Amaranth, and then you've got several dates in Europe with Steve Stevens. That and all the stuff that you've got going on with Firewind, you've got a huge year happening for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing both at the same time right now, the way it's turned out. I wasn't planning on doing a lot of solo stuff this year, but, you know, when a tour with Steve Stevens comes up, you know, you don't say no to that. And when Japan calls, you go. You know, you just have fun, and you go there and you play for your fans there. It's just always an adventure. Yeah, and like you say, between the solo stuff and now obviously the Firewind tour and the festivals that we're going to be doing is going to be a pretty busy year.
Awesome, Gus. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to hang out and chat with us, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see you out on the road.
Thank you, my friend.